So in this part, I will talk about why do migrants watch Nollywood films. Nollywood films are a very important medium for the African diaspora all over the world. As we have seen in the previous part, the diaspora consists of different members and fulfill different functions for the different types of the diaspora. Through our texts that we have read, we've identified 5 functions that Nollywood movies have for migrants, so that they watch these movies. Firstly, I want to talk about the absurd situations of immigrants which search in Nollywood movies a meaning to their situations so they can cope with the feelings of disorientation in a foreign country.
I am looking for bread.
Bread here. There's the bread here.
Oh, you have bread.
Migrants are pinned between social and economic insecurity. Often their qualifications are not recognized in the labor market, and usually the only legal occupation within the reach are temporary jobs paid under the table. In addition, there is an urgent request for money from the family in Nigeria, which often does not believe the story of hardship and sacrifice. The family in Nigeria feels fooled by relatives viewed as reluctant to share the wealth accumulated in the West. Hence, the numerous immigrants lies pretending to have made it, so they can live up their relatives' expectations and avoid the shape of defeat. So, they can't go back to Nigeria because they can't afford the airfare, but also because they'd be ashamed to return without having made the fortune. Therefore, immigrant life can become pointless and may seem senseless. This is why they have to give it a new meaning with the help of Nollywood movies. Nollywood movies have a function that the plot lines are very near to reality, to which the audience can identify with. Migrants search for plots in Nollywood movies that reflects the conditions of defeat and identify with the character. With this identification, migrants can rely on the plot of the story and gain a meaning in their situation. For example, migrants watch plots where protagonists get rich but then plunges into ruin because the wealth is obtained with the aid of occult forces. At the same time, they see the happy conclusions of characters who resisted the temptation to get rich quick and put up with privation and suffering in the hopes of divine recompense and lasting economic success. These plotlines offer a key to interpreting the real-life situations that makes poverty and privation tolerable.
You never needed to sign those documents in the first place. All we needed was for you to identify yourself and request which bank you wanted the money to go to anywhere in the world. This whole thing was a scam.
So another function that Nollywood movies have in a condition of disorientation in a foreign country is to reflect the situation by watching the movies. Through measuring themselves against the familiar, symbolic and discursive order, they confront the well-known habits, beliefs and values of the homeland, which provides anchor and reference points to manage in the confusing new country. Reflections also contribute to negotiate identity in a transnational context. For migrants, reflections on the homeland and the social experience of migration enable them thereby to reassess their own history and identity and master its multiple transformations. The assessments and comparison of habits and beliefs of the home culture with the host culture helps them to mediate between assimilation and resistance of the host country and negotiate an identity through the help of Nollywood. The next function that Nollywood has is to get a cultural affirmation of their ethnic identity through the movies. Tradition and culture is an important part for migrants, which they want to maintain in the foreign country. The movies also show the way Nigerians live the culture and tradition and prove the reasonableness of their behavior and cultural identity. Additionally, the movies serve as an affirmation of the values they grew up with and with which they still identify with, and this empowers pride in the ethnic background. The fourth reason why migrants watch Nollywood movies is because they feel nostalgic for their home country. This is related to the fact that it has to do with the individual, people as a community, nation as a whole, and historical activities like love life that one misses. Through the movies, they are carried back home and can update with the latest thing that is happening in Nigeria, which is often treated in the movies so they can again relate to their cultural identity. I want to read you a quote from a Nigerian woman who lived for a long time in Turin. Thanks to Nollywood, I'm carried back home. I see the latest things happening in Nigeria. Since I only rarely hang out with Nigerians now, I refresh my memory of what they say, how they behave, the way of doing things. So the very last function and reason why migrants watch Nollywood movies is due to the fact that one is interested about Africa and wants to learn or teach about it. From the movies, one can learn a moral lesson as well as the social norms that are practiced there. For descendants of migrants, this helps to understand more about their own culture. Also, they want to see an Africa with which they can associate with, and not how it is represented in the mainstream media.
Thank you for watching this third and final part of our presentation. Now please go to Julia's and answer the two questions as follows. Asufia in London is the movie we had to watch last week. Why would you think that African migrants in the diaspora would watch this movie? Imagine you are a Nigerian immigrant who recently came to Switzerland, and argue from her or his point of view. And secondly, how do you think Nollywood movies add to the African American concept of heritage? We all hope you enjoyed our presentation and look forward to seeing you in class.